So today's lesson is once again looking at solving equations with the variable on one side. Now, 7th grade today, there will be a solution to every problem on your assignment. There will, if you are finding that you are having no solution or having infinite solutions, you have done something incorrectly. Every problem on your assignment today, there is a solution for the variable. So that being said, let's go ahead and get right into this. Let's look at example number 1. 2p plus 8 equals negative 2p. So obviously, like we said, we talk about isolating the variable, getting everything with the variable on one side of the equation and getting everything else on the other side of the equation. So I'm envisioning this here, and I'm going to subtract negative 2p from both sides. That's going to give me 0. Then I'm going to come over here and subtract negative 2p, and that's going to give me negative 4p. So subtracting negative 2p here gives me 0. Subtracting negative 2p from negative 2p gives me negative 4p. So now I am at 8 equals negative 4p. With your calculator, then you can take 8 and divide it by negative 4, and p will equal negative 2. Okay, so that's what's happening there. When I do 8 divided by negative 4, p equals negative 2. Sure enough, negative 4 times negative 2 equals 8. Now for this next one, I have negative 4y minus 7 equals 10y. So once again, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add 4y to both sides. Okay, I'm at negative 4y. So to get to 0, I want to add 4y, which means I'm going to have to come over here and I'm going to add 4y over here. 10y plus 4y equals 14y. Okay, so now I'm left with negative 7 equals 14y. I should go into my calculator and I should plug in negative 7 divided by 14, or I just realized that it's negative 7 over 14. I simplify the fraction. It becomes negative 1/2. Remember, you can take your division problem, make it a fraction. You just have to simplify the fraction. We do not want any answers where we have these continuing decimals. Now this one, if you actually plugged it into your calculator, negative 7 divided by 14 probably gave you y equals negative 0.5. And that's okay, because that would be a terminating decimal. But a lot of times you'll end up with fractions that are not terminating decimals, so you need to make sure they're fractions. So as you've heard me say before, sometimes it's just easier to work with fractions all the time. Then you know you don't have a problem. All right, so moving on now, where now we have not only variables on one side, but we have other values, other terms on both sides as well. So I'm looking here at number 3. 5x minus 20 equals 3x plus 8. So I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to handle this? So there's a variety of ways that I can do it, but I find it a little bit easier to try to work with positive numbers that are connected with the variable, but it really doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. That's going to give me 0. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to subtract 3x. 5x minus 3x is 2x. I am subtracting 3x from both sides. Since I already have a 0 over here, I now need on this side of the equation to have a 0 over here. So this is a negative 20. Remember 7th grade, this is not just minus 20. We look at the whole term with the operational sign in front of it. It is a negative 20. So to get to 0, I have to add 20. Negative 20 plus 20 is 0. But as we've talked about before, whatever I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other side of the equation. So if I add 20 over here, I have to add 20 over here. And 8 plus 20 equals 28. So now that leaves me with 2x equals 28. Then, either mental math or with your calculator or on a paper, you have to think 28 divided by 2. 28 divided by 2, x equals 14. Last example that we're going to do for our video today. Negative 6a plus 15 equals negative 10a minus 9. All right, so once again, you have to make a decision. Are you going to bring negative 6a over here? Are you going to bring negative 10a over here? Are you going to bring the 15 over here? Are you going to bring the negative 9 over here? Really doesn't matter, like we said, what combination you do. Just make sure, like we did in 3, you have a 0 on both sides. You don't want to take a whole side down to 0. Technically, you can do that, but that's just it causes a little more confusion. So we're not even really going to talk about that. It's not the best way to do it. So what we're going to do, and it may not be your first choice, but my first choice is we're going to go ahead and we're going to add 10a to both sides. And that's going to give me 0 there. Okay, so I'm going to come over here to my negative 6a, and I'm going to add 10a. And when I do negative 6 plus 10, that gives me a positive 4. So I'm at 4a. Now I've already got a 0 over on the right side of the equation, so now I need to get a 0 here. So I have a positive 15. Remember, that's not just plus 15. It also means that's a positive 15. You have to remember now with algebra stuff, the plus and minus signs are interchangeable with the positive and negative. You got to be able to see both parts. So I'm going to subtract 15 from both sides. That's going to give me 0. I'm going to do negative 9 minus 15. Negative 9 minus 15 is going to give me negative 24. Negative 24. So that leaves me now with 4a equals negative 24. If 4a equals negative 24, a equals negative 6. Negative 24 divided by 4 is negative 6. Have a good day, 7th grade. Talk to you soon.